question is only we are driven to discuss in terms of the efficiency parameters when we look at understanding whether the bank is good or bad. If you look at the public sector banking or the old private sector banking has had a legacy of operations and they've been continuing in the same way with only few changes here and there over a period of time. In case of private sector, which has started in 1994 and onwards, they have built up on a different business model. Now, only question is when you are moving towards efficiency, even sticking to the commitment for the nation building, obviously there is a requirement in the public sector space also to remodel themselves, come out of the legacy what they've been working on and see that the efficiency parameters are taken forward. That is the objective and the challenge in front of the public sector space at this point of time. Now we'll correlate with the mergers as to why merger was required, why merger, without merger could it have been, could it have happened. It is not because some globally, China has 5 banks or Japan has 1 bank in the top 5 or other countries have 1 bank. Quite a few banks and India doesn't have a bank. That is, yes, one of the reasons where probably the thought process starts. Even in 1993 when the 97 committee came out with the recommendations, these points were also there in their mind. But more importantly, when the banking has shifted from manual to computerized environment, the visibility in control of operations in terms of the technology, in terms of compliance is completely shifted to technology-based control. Now, the physical visibility is not available for us to have a robust operational working in the banking space where we depend on technology. Besides, there have been many challenges which the public sector space has seen, whether it is the involvement of them very highly in the infra development of the country, though in those days, more importantly in the year 2008 or 7 to 2012, when public sector banking space has lent heavily in the infrastructure segment, in the absence of a single window, or in the absence of any protection to the industry, in a particular infrastructure industry, by way of an MIP or otherwise, the bankers have still gone and lent. Now, at the end of the day, either because of the projects got delayed involving cost escalation or otherwise, having had this skin in the finance, the banker had no option but to fund for the escalation in cost, and accordingly, we have seen some of the stress in the large corporate segment since 2015. That could be termed as an aberration, coupled with few areas of corporate governance in the private sector industries, which has led to a lot of gap in the asset value and a lot of haircut which is required to be taken for the banks. These things should not impact the original objective of as to why the banking is required for lending in the infrastructure segment.
कई बार समस्याओं का समाधान केवल प्राइवेटाइजेशन है, वह नहीं है। बैंकिंग सेक्टर में खासकर फाइनेंशियल पूरे इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में प्राइवेट और पब्लिक सेक्टर दोनों का बहुत डिफाइंड क्लियर कट रोल है और दोनों की आवश्यकता है। तो सरकार का कोई प्राइवेटाइजेशन करने का पर्पस नहीं था जिसके कारण मर्जर की बात आई। सबसे बड़ी बात थी कि पिछले 5 साल 5.5 साल में जो बैंकिंग सेक्टर में उसके पहले 65 साल में जो प्रॉब्लम्स इकट्ठे हो गए थे, चाहे वो एनपीए को लेके हो, चाहे उनकी कैपिटल स्ट्रक्चर को लेके हो, और बहुत सारी समस्याएं थी जिनका समाधान कई सरकारों ने पीछे कोशिश की, लेकिन वह रिजोल्यूशन हुआ नहीं उन एनपीए का। तो 2014 में जब नरेंद्र मोदी जी की सरकार आई तो सबसे पहले तो उनका आइडेंटिफिकेशन करके उस एनपीए के प्रॉब्लम को रिजॉल्व करने के एक प्रोसेस की तरफ हम बढ़े, जिसमें लॉ का भी काफ़ी चेंजेस किए। लेकिन मर्जर उस रिफॉर्म के प्रोसेस को लेके था कि जो बैंकों में उनकी कैपिटल स्ट्रक्चर को लेके प्रॉब्लम आ गई थी, जो उनके पास लिक्विडिटी होने के बाद भी बहुत सारे बैंक जो थे जो पीसीए में चले गए थे कि वो लोग लैंड नहीं कर पा रहे थे। तो सबसे बड़ी बात थी कि उनकी कैपिटल स्ट्रक्चर को ठीक करना ताकि वो लैंड कर सकें लिक्विडिटी को। और इतनी सारी ब्रांचेस हो गई थी जो देश में धीरे धीरे जैसे टेक्नोलॉजिकल चेंजेस आ रहे थे जिस तरह से, तो उसमें इतनी ब्रांच नेटवर्क की आवश्यकता अब उतनी आउटरीच के लिए लगता था सरकार को या हमें कि उतनी ज़रूरत है नहीं।
I think it's a question of mixed issues, I personally believe that you see right now, immediate consequences of the heavy provisions which have been made over the years because of the NPA, Probably there is no alternative but to see that the weaker banks are merged and to see that the bigger banks are able to take up bigger. That is the theory on which the merger has been thought of as an immediate measure. Now, I think the idea was that actually we should have the organization which is of a world size. Now, even after the merger, I believe that the Punjab National Bank would continue to be much lower as compared to the 100 bank, where probably your net worth would be about 179 billion as compared to about 234 of the last bank. So now I think that being the case, as far as coming back to private sector, I don't think the thought of completely operational privatization would depend on the basic political thinking. This is my feeling. And certainly, I think in a way, when the people have been actually bought from the private sector as the chairman or others, the government in a way are trying to take advantage or trying to mix up the two thought in a little way. That's what I believe.
I don't want to lead into the statistics. We can draw our own conclusions out of it. Every merger creates its own noise, sir. But it is the substance that counts in the long run. And that is what the leadership, the think tank, the policy makers, the academia, and the financial guardians of the nation have to think. Is bank merger, if I were to look as a student, is it merely a band-aid? Or are we trying to achieve a particular objective? Because every policy has a purpose and a perspective. What is that we wish to achieve out of it? Again, I'm not sitting in here making a judgment. I don't think I have the ability to make any judgment, or any one of us, dare I say, can make a judgment out of it. We can only evaluate, ponder, debate, and help in making an opinion out of it. What is the purpose and what is the objective we are looking at it? As a society, we are one of those societies which has the best saving habits.